Hello tanks and tankettes, and welcome to one of my own tanks games, because I do very occasionally still play tanks myself, although not that often these days. It has been a little more frequent of late though. I mean, we've had the latest season of Frontlines, which I played a bit both by myself and with Circon, but also I've been joining him for streams a little more than usual, as he's been grinding for gun marks in the mid-tiers, because you just get penalised that much less these days for platooning. Once upon a time it was a guarantee of being down-tiered, not quite all the time, but it felt like a majority of the time, a large majority of the time, whereas these days you've got much more of a good chance of actually being either mid-tiered or even top-tiered, as in this case. It is, however, still Mines, which is nobody's favourite map, and given that Circon's in the Nashorn, well, there's really only one kind of optimal place for him to go, but I don't think he was very keen on the idea of sitting at the back, waiting for things to come into view, at which point you've kind of already lost. But in my case, I'm in a much more mobile tank, and we've gotten lucky with taking the hill. It was only one enemy tank that tried to come this way, so it could all have gone horribly wrong, but as it was, between myself, the AMX, and that Cromwell, we have easily taken the high ground. And something Star Wars memes. I'm not even gonna bother, just insert it yourself there, I suppose. So having gotten the high ground, I still have to be a bit careful. I've killed one artillery, secured one artillery already, but there are two more. However, the one that got knocked out was arguably by far the most dangerous one, that M44, because they could potentially have one-shot me still, I think, even these days. The Type 64 is not exactly overly endowed with armour. It's still a very soft target as far as artillery is concerned. So the fact that I'm not quite as in peril as I was is welcome, but the SU-8 could still smack me around a bit, and even the FV could still rather hurt. So at the moment I'm just trying to spot for allies essentially, and oh hello, talking of SU-8s, well, it's not like this is a particularly big map, and actually I don't mind it so much, I have to say, on the mid and low tiers. I mean, it can still be a real drag, but I think it's that much worse an experience when you're playing Mines at tier 9, tier 10. That's just not fun at all, because everyone's view ranges are that much bigger, the alpha damage is that much higher, and it's all just, a painful experience. So we did have some tanks watching the approach, but they seem to have buggered off. So this VKD has taken advantage and come up the hill, and I hadn't even noticed that there was nobody watching that, so yeah, that's not so good. So I didn't realise the Cheeto was there on such low health, so I turned around to try and save them, only for them to die to artillery. Now I've rather committed to trying to hit this VK, so that's most of my health. Ouch, but the Cromwell does come to the rescue and get the kill. Meanwhile the FV tries to hit me again, and misses, fortunately, so I've got to be a bit more cautious at this point now, because most of my health has gone just like that. It's a good thing for me the VK didn't think to switch to some HE ammo, but never mind. So there's the captured French Panther also having a go, having seen the VK manage to come up, but between me and the Cromwell we managed to finish them off. So that's not too much of a problem, but it really would be nice if we had somebody watching this approach at this point. I can't particularly afford to anymore, but neither can the Cromwell. We've also lost a bunch of people at this stage, although so have the enemy team. Circon, meanwhile, is dancing around over on that flank. There's a pair of the enemy T-50-2s. Can you imagine if they'd come up to the hill? This might have been a slightly more interesting experience if they had, but never mind. So yeah, in the Nashorn, that's not exactly an ideal vehicle for dealing with, anything at close range especially. But somehow Circon's not managed to die yet. Another contender turns up at the entrance to the hill, that WZ, and honestly, if they tried to push up, they could be a pretty big threat. I'd be relying on my 76mm gun to try and track them, but even so, if I was tracking them, it would be a frontal tracking, which is not really ideal. I'd have to run around the little pinnacle in the centre of the hill to get round for a side tracking shot, and it's not really, it's not a thing I could do quickly enough to make a difference in the span of time that they were tracked. So fortunately for me, they've backed off. Very fortunately for me. They could have just come up the hill and killed me and the Cromwell if they had really wanted to. Well, now it's just me actually, because that Stridsvagen has killed the Cromwell. So although we do still have the high ground, it's looking increasingly a bit perilous. So there's that Stridsvagen. I figured I would probably be spotted there. Actually, Zircon gets in a hit at the same time. Fortunately, artillery doesn't manage to get the final kill, but they are now a one-shot, which is good. I'd also like to figure out where this KV-85 is, because they could potentially be a big threat. If I could get to a point where I could even get in a sneaky shot or two in the rear, that would be quite nice also. But they don't seem to be close to where they're last spotted, and I'm not picking up the Stridsvagen again either. I now at least have to less worry about being proximity spotted, which was something I was having to be particularly wary about early on when I was whizzing around and trying to spot things. Oh, there's the Stridsvagen, and boop, okay, got them, didn't get spotted in the process, although actually, no, there we go, I did. I don't know if that was me having, that little delay between me having fired and being revealed having fired, and then them having died, possibly. Because of course they might have seen me just in the instant that the shell was whizzing towards them. Anyway, so that's that particular remaining low health tank dealt with. They don't have a lot of tanks left at this point, but neither do we especially, and nothing really with any armour. Our FV appears to be trying to scout, which is interesting. I go for a little peek in the bushes, and that actually is just in time to pick up some spotting on both these remaining enemy tank destroyers, but the enemy FV is still alive, so I really can't hang around in one spot any too long. So with those tank destroyers taken care of and a little bit of extra spotting damage for me, let's go and try and find that artillery, and oh well, they're right there as it turns out. Now I've killed two of them already. It was quite low health kills, although I did, I think, spot both of them. But in this case I've actually managed to get the majority of the damage, and if I get this final kill, well, I'll upgrade from a Pascucci's medal to a Dimitri's medal, or however one pronounces that. And in fact, that's what I'm going to get out of this, so that's rather nice. That's one of the reasons why I picked out this replay. It wasn't just me, flailing around in a Type 64 of mines. It was me getting a medal for actually killing all of the artillery as well, which is always satisfying. And also me demonstrating that it is in fact possible to have fun these days whilst in a platoon and, enjoy the benefits of being in a platoon. Although fun is a relative term when we're talking about mines. So, podium finish there for me and Zircon. I got a bit more spotting damage, so that's why he was a little bit below me in score. But otherwise, yeah, not a bad game at all. And it certainly didn't hurt that I was in one of the best tier 6 light tanks. Zircon's performance, I think, is probably that much more impressive just because it is the Nashorn and it isn't particularly a good tier 6 anything, but somehow he made it work because he's Zircon and ridiculously good at this game. Anyway, so that's it for this replay, and if you enjoyed it, you can do all the usual things down underneath the video, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.